Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta snapped a crisis meeting called by the Electoral Board Chairman Wafula Chebukati for Thursday, saying he would instead spend the day campaigning for next week's presidential vote rerun. But opposition leader Raila Odinga, whose call for mass protests on election day is sparking fears that the crisis could turn violent, met Thursday with a top election board official and called for serious talks on the impasse. On Wednesday, Mr. Chebukati delivered a stark message to political leaders, saying he could not guarantee a credible vote under the current conditions. Now, joining us via Skype live from Nairobi is Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori. Good evening, Vincent. Very interesting developments in Kenya today.
Good evening, Esther. Indeed, the situation here remains tense and uncertain. You know that the chairman of the Electoral Commission, as you mentioned, Wafula Chebukati, asked the principals of the parties that are involved, the Jubilee Coalition, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Mr. Raila Odinga of NASA, to meet with him so that they possibly can talk and resolve this political impasse. But Mr. Odinga was categorical on Thursday that he will not meet with Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he gave reasons. Take a listen.
You saw what the Jubilee people said yesterday. And those circumstances, do you think it would be proper for me to meet with Kenyatta? Because it's made to appear as if I'm the one who is begging for a meeting, that I want this because I want Nusu Mukati. I don't know how many times I need to tell them I don't need any of those poisoned Mukatis from Jubilee. Okay? So I'm not going to fall down to those kind of cheap propaganda being perpetuated by people who are drunk with power. I need nothing from Jubilee. What I want is for the good of this country only. And I don't have to meet to make it appear as if I'm going to beg. I don't need anything from the so-called Mr. William Ruto.
And for those who may not be familiar, Nusu Mukate, which in English means the half-breed, is an acronym for a government of national coalition or a government of national unity, which a Jubilee coalition has claimed is what Mr. Odinga is aiming for. He refuses that is what he wants. But at the same time, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, has said he will not meet Mr. Raila Odinga. And Odinga insists there is no possibility that an election can take place on October the 26th. Take a listen to what he said.
The signs are there on the wall for anyone to see that the commission was not properly prepared and that there are certain things inside the commission happening over which the chairman did not have any control. And that was really the reason why we decided that rather than go through a charade and waste people's money and time, it's better for us to pull out. It's good that these things are now coming out. The chairman, as you know, as said by Madam Makombe, has been hostage to some commissioners. That also need to be addressed. There are staff who are in the secretariat who are partisan and who are involved in rigging the last elections, who are still in place. So all those do not actually inspire confidence that we can have a proper process. And that's the reason why we have said we will come and talk and listen. We have listened and we have also given our views.
Well, and this just in, as Mr. Odinga digs in, President Uhuru Kenyatta's ruling coalition, Jubilee, on Thursday went to court and in fact filed a contempt case against Mr. Raila Odinga and his running mate, Kalonzo Musyoka. Kenyatta wants Odinga to be found guilty of disregarding the order by the Supreme Court to participate in an election on October 26th. And in fact, he says that while he claims that he has withdrawn from the electoral process, he has refused to sign the document that is required by law to make it official, to make the withdrawal official. At the same time, The ruling coalition also wants the court to find Mr. Odinga guilty of obstructing the electoral process, including, in fact, disrupting the training of election officials. It is indeed a drama that is unfolding by the day here in Kenya.
Any reaction so far, Vincent, on that new lawsuit against Odinga?
Well, some are surprised because they did not expect Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta to go to court. But of course, there have been speculations that we're going to be inundated by lawsuits from both sides. And in fact, there are already so many cases in court. Now, we don't know how this will unfold. We don't know how quickly and when and how the courts are going to rule, which makes this election very uncertain and the future completely confusing. Nobody knows what is next.
Oh, wow. Just a few days before the rerun. Vincent, thank you so much for your insight into this political scenario.
Thank you.
That's Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori reporting live via Skype from Nairobi. Now, following the annulment of Kenya's August 8th presidential election, political uncertainty in the East African nation remains high. However, Kenya's central bank governor Patrick Njoroge is downplaying its effects on the country's economy and investors.
The current state of affairs is one of high uncertainty. But I think the point here is that this is all political uncertainty based on recent pronouncements by the Supreme Court and the sequence of events that followed that. Whoever wins will be a Kenyan, and the other one is we also know whoever wins, they'll be supporting market-based policies. That's what investors need to know. And in a sense, that is what they're pushing for.